Welcome to our third lesson in our masterclass, The Anatomy of a Great Pin. Today we are talking about scroll stopping visuals. If you've ever looked at your Pinterest pins and thought, why aren't people clicking? That was such a good pin. Or how do I make my pins stand out without looking like everyone else who is using Canva? This might be your aha moment because this is not about pretty design. I mean, it is, but it's way deeper than that. We're talking about profitable design, how to create pins that literally stop the scroll, spark curiosity, and drive action. Pinterest is a visual discovery engine. So while keywords matter, your image is what stops the scroll. You've got milliseconds to make them pay attention. And you don't do that with generic copy and paste Canva templates, although some of them are awesome. So you do that with scroll stopping visuals that are built with strategy, and I'm going to show you exactly how. So the first trick I am going to share with you is the window pane effect. Some of you might have seen me use this before. It is so simple, but it is absolutely one of my most favorite ways to design my pins. You use three photo frames stacked side by side with the same image that's broken up across them, and it kind of looks like you're looking out a window. It creates depth, it adds visual interest, and it draws the eye across the pin. One thing that I am going to do in one of my later pins is I'm going to bring these panes straight up and make them very large. And I'm going to use a picture that is not landscape. And then I'm going to bring the headline across in the center. So it'll go across the picture and the picture is still going to be broken up. I just think that it is so dynamic. Um, it works really well for any aesthetic forward niche. So wellness, home, mindset, lifestyle, truly any niche can use this template and this angle. So another thing that you can do that I have done is drug these two outer ones over and made them fall off the pin itself and made the center one larger. It's just a different way to, break it up and not use the same template over and over again. So another thing you can do is not have rounded corners. You can have squares, or you can make these circles, so just think outside of the box. So the next trick we're going to talk about is foreground versus backgrounds. This is kind of the transparency trick, and I'm going to show you three different ways here. So I want to let me hit play there. So I have a picture of my gorgeous little baby Rennie there, and I set her as the background, and I put the transparency down to 35 in this example. And then I'm going to take a frame and I'm going to put it onto the pin itself. And I'm going to cover the primary part of Rennie's face here. And I'm going to put that in the center. And then I'm going to make a copy of the picture and drop that into the frame. So now you see how it auto sized it. So I have to bring it bigger. I have to make it match the original there. And then I'm going to adjust it just a little bit to make sure that it matches perfectly with the background. And then there it is. She pops. The background is transparent, but the image is not broken up. It makes people wonder how you did that when you do that. And then you put just your heading and your subheading on that pin itself. And that's one way of using transparency to make it really just different. It just adds that extra touch that not everybody knows how to add to their pins. So another way here is to just add transparent blocks to the top and the bottom of the pin itself. So again, with the same example with Rennie, I left the background image at full color and I'm dragging over just some simple squares, sizing them up so that it does not take away from her cuteness. I'm going to add some transparency to it. And then I'm going to duplicate that square and I'm going to drag it to the bottom because that's where I'm going to put my branding and probably the call to action at the bottom there. So that's a second way to use transparency. Again, your heading goes and then the call to action and your brand. So down at the bottom. Now, the third way, and this I have to give a disclaimer, and I know some of you have Canva Pro, but this is only for Canva Pro. Now, if you have another way to remove the background, because I know there are other ways to remove backgrounds of pictures, you are welcome to do this as well, and you don't have to pay for the Canva Pro. But I have the primary image as the background, and then I duplicated it, and I just kept Rennie. I'm going to play that one again because I still have stuff to talk about. So I duplicated the picture in full color and I removed the background of it. And then I pulled the primary focus of the image, which was Rennie, into to right on top of the transparent. So the picture is not messed with whatsoever, but Rennie absolutely is the standout star of this pin. And then I would drop some text over there and text down here again. I might even add a little arrow, like if it's something like, you know, got a dog that loves sticks, and then an arrow to the dog with the stick, and then try this, whatever it may be. Now, this next one is not nearly as fancy as removing the background, and I'm sorry, Rennie is not in this pin, but this is breaking away from the rectangles and the squares. Circles, rounded corners, arches, anything like that instantly elevates your design. It feels a little more elite, right? And it breaks that, oh, it's another template feel. So using circular frames for profile shots or products, placed behind the text decorative blobs, swashes, or paint strokes. So in this example, I have a circle here, I have an arch or a half circle here with a main image, and I just dropped in some color there to make it kind of look like the sun. I thought it was fun. One thing that I do love to do is put a logo up in this circle here. And then another thing that you should try is to bring this half circle part down, make your image down at the bottom, and then do some curved text up over it, which would be really, really cool. So just think in terms of what would make your pin stand out. Everybody else is using rectangles and squares. You're dropping in some circles and some arches, and you just feel a little more luxurious. So our next two things, one is using doodles and sketch. So anything that looks hand drawn. So everything is very digital on a pen, right? The text is very digital. The image is very digital. It feels digital. So when you add something that looks like someone hand drew it, like this arrow that's on here, that just immediately draws the eye to it because it feels human. Another thing that you can do with something like this is add like something that's like a swipe behind it, like a paintbrush stroke, or something that looks like a highlighter that's not a perfect digital looking graphic or element to it. So that just makes people believe that there's a human behind this. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is bold contrast headlines, right? Talk about contrast. No more soft beige on blush headlines. That's not really scroll stopping. Everyone is using those light colors, those neutrals. Do not be afraid to add a bunch of color to some of your pins. Now, I know it's not on brand for everyone, but it's certainly, if it was something that I wanted to stand out on my profile, I would absolutely be using something that is super bright, even neon, or very dark text on a mostly white background is amazing too. Using bright colors like this electric pink and this insane yellow, or deep purples on a neutral background, right? Whatever it is, just make it pop. Stay true to your brand, true to your vibe, but think of ways that you can make it punchy but polished. So, our next little tip here is your image choice. Not just pretty, but purposeful. Your photo should be telling a story, it should be inviting the viewer into a moment or to feel a certain emotion, right? So, choose action shots, someone who is doing something, right? This woman here is presenting something and this woman here is working out, right? So they're doing something. You can almost see her moving. You can almost imagine how she feels about the thing she's holding. Well, especially because she's holding a woman exercising in her hand. Emotion evoking visuals, contextual images, right? So this is supposed to be the profile of a person and it's branches, right? It's just so interesting when you see things like this. Here we have the emotion, we feel the broken heart, right? So I want you to think about ways that you can use pictures that are not woman smiling at a laptop, right? I mean, we've all used those same flat lay images on stuff. It's easy, but it's boring, right? So I want you to think about evoking some emotion out of the people that view your pins. And I want you to think about the context of your pin and use a photo that's relatable. And that is going to make a difference between someone scrolling past because it looks like everybody else's pin and pausing. This one is huge, okay? Motion simulation. I get it. Even on a static pin, you can create a visual movement, right? So you can use lines that are going upward for progress or for positivity, right? If you think about a line going up, it just makes you imagine that it's good. It's something that's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Layering, think about how we did with Rennie and the transparency, right? You could almost you could almost reach out and get that stick for her and throw it for her, which she would absolutely love if you did, using shadows and gradients, which create dimension in your pins. And then, making things peek out, or, this basketball up here, it looks, you can see it, it's going, right? And this is just a Canva stock image. Same with this girl. This girl is just crawling out of my slide here. You're kind of startled by her. So it's things like this that you don't expect. Santa over here peeking out of the side. He's telling everybody to get ready for Christmas in July, right? And you can also use time lapse images or blurred images. These things make people, that they were in motion when that picture was snapped. That makes people just automatically feel the movement. And this is going to help your pins stand out. Now, I've given you a lot of tips and tricks, but I want you to remember that your design fundamentals, these best practices, these do still matter. So use your correct dimensions. Use some padding, give your elements some space, let them breathe. Less clutter is more focus. Do not do every single trick that I told you today in one pin. That is too much. Don't do that. Use readable fonts. Your headline has to be legible at a glance and on a phone. Use a clear CTA. What are they getting? What is the next step for your customer? And then be consistent. Please be consistent. You can build brand recognition by using the same 2 to 3 fonts, the same color palette, and the same visual style. So don't skip the basics. These are your foundation. Your fancy tricks you can play with and build on because you never know. That might be the one pin that really pops off for you. So some tools and templates to help, right? In Canva, there are some search terms there, right? Grid is for the window panes. Window frame, you can search photo frames, transparent overlays, paint strokes, blobs for decorative shape accents, hand-drawn arrow or highlight, for the directional movement, transparent overlay, for that layer, or you could just use that square like I did, which is what I do all the time. You can also search for motion or time lapse photos. And then there's some fonts there that are really, really legible and really easy to pair with script fonts or to pair with other fun fonts, you know. And then I really want to make sure that you guys understand that you should finish strong. You have to have your CTA and your value delivery, right? So always include that next step that feels natural and specific, right? And then there's those examples. Save it to your Pinterest strategy board to try the window pane trick on your next post. Or, do you want templates with these tricks already baked in? Join the community for full access, things like that, right? So I really, really make sure that you guys are not forgetting your basics and that you are using your CTA. And I forgot to make a last slide for this one, so I'm not gonna be able to tell you what's tomorrow on the screen, but I can tell you, I guess, right here. So tomorrow we are going to dive into your pins and how to relate them to people that are looking for solutions, right? So we're going to cover like how your pin content has to solve a problem, how it has to tease the helpful, practical information that someone is looking for, and help focus on that transformation for them. So that's going to be our next lesson. I appreciate you guys. This was long today, but I hope that I gave you some inspiration. What I want you to do is drop what technique, what trick, what cool thing you're going to try in your next fancy pin. And I will see you in the next lesson.